Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for The Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett. This is the second Discworld book ever published, and the second book in the Rincewind series, and the fifth Discworld book I believe that I have read. So, as far as my thoughts on Discworld kind of going into this, I loved the first three books that I read, which were Small Gods, Mort, and Reaper Man. And then the one prior to this that I read was The Color of Magic, which is the first Rincewind book, this being the second. So I read kind of the direct follow-up to that about a year ago. And I enjoyed that one as well. At the time, it was my least favorite Discworld book. I would say this one probably took its place. I didn't think this one was quite as good as some of those other ones, but still an enjoyable book for sure. So I've enjoyed a lot of the Discworld books up to this point. I loved those first three that I mentioned. And then so far, the Rincewind books have been just, decently good, which is not surprising because a lot of people within the fantasy community that love Discworld tend to say that the first handful of published books, these two Rincewind books being some of them, are probably the weakest ones. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, that's kind of expected. And on the other hand, it kind of makes me more excited to read some of the other Discworld books because hopefully these will be the low point. And even then, these are still, these first couple are still decent and enjoyable. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed this one. So as far as things that I did like about this book, there's several. The big thing that I enjoyed here, which I have enjoyed in every Discworld book, is the writing style. Terry Pratchett is just such a great writer. His writing is just very charming, very witty, very fun to read, very quick to read. This book already is quite short. I think it's, like 270 some pages. So it's already quick, but his prose is just very readable, very engaging. Even these two Rincewind books that I've read, even though this one is, not my favorite of the books and probably my least favorite of the ones that I've read, it's still enjoyable to read because his prose is just a lot of fun to read. He uses a lot of different jokes, a lot of like British humor type stuff. So if you're into that, you'll probably like Discworld. Just a lot of like fun, very like absurdist type ideas and things like that. That's just enjoyable to read. I just always have a fun time reading these books just because of the writing and the prose of these books. I also think one thing that I liked about this book was how direct of a sequel it is to The Color of Magic. From what I've heard, and certainly from the ones that I've read, Discworld seems to be like predominantly made up of a lot of standalones, and there are series within Discworld, but a lot of those even you could probably read out of order. At least that's the impression that I get from what I've heard about it. That's the impression that I've got from Mort and Reaper Man, which are the first two books in the Death series. Like, I feel like you could read Reaper Man before you read Mort, for example. This one doesn't seem quite as much like that. You could maybe read it as a standalone, but it very much functions like of course, I haven't read the other Rincewind books yet, but I would say that The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic very much function as a duology. So I would definitely recommend, reading both of them if you are able and are interested. But I did enjoy that about it. I like seeing the follow through from that first book. I thought that was pretty cool. And it makes a lot of sense the way that it was written that way because it was the first two books in the series that were published. So it kind of makes sense to have some continuity between them. I also think that the characters and the plot are well done here. They're not incredible, like amazing. Like, I wouldn't say that the plot in this book is anything as great as compared to the likes of Reaper Man or Mort or even Small Gods. I would say even the Color of Magic, I think, had a more engaging plot than this book did. The plot of this book basically is that Rincewind, who is this very incompetent wizard, the first book was he was being accompanied by this guy named Two Flower, who is the Discworld's first ever tourist. And this book kind of goes on more of their misadventures together, in which the Discworld is on a collision course with some kind of red star, and they're trying to figure out how to handle that. So it's a fun plot setup and fun character work, and the story this is telling in general is fun and enjoyable, and a lot of fun stuff happens in it. But the story and the characters are not amazing, but they're enjoyable. And that really is most of the good that I have to say about this book. And as far as anything negative I have to say, it really is just that the characters and the plot are not as amazing as they are in some of the other books. Like I think about books like Reaper Man or Small Gods, and like I still remember very well the characters in those books. I remember a lot of the plot of those books. I remember there being some very, very hard-hitting themes and things like that. And the character arcs were really, really well done and really kind of hit me very well and things like that. This book doesn't really have that. This one's more of just a fun, quick, enjoyable read that isn't like, doesn't feel like it's really anything deeper than that or more engaging than that. It's just a fun read, and sometimes that's all you want. So as far as achieving that, I think this definitely does. Actually, one other positive thing, which isn't necessarily a positive thing completely, but I do think this book had a really good ending. I did enjoy the ending a lot. One thing that I really thought was interesting about the ending is, of course, I'm a big fan of like H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos and things like that. This book kind of has a weirdly Lovecraftian ending, which I actually really liked. It was a fun little inclusion. That was completely unexpected, but worked pretty well and was kind of fun to see. So I enjoyed that as well. But anyway, that pretty much is all I have to say about this one. Not a whole lot to talk about. Just a fun, enjoyable book that, you know, had some really good writing in it and decent, you know, fun characters, character interactions, a fun kind of storyline, even though it's nothing, I would say, that amazing. Like a lot of the things that happen within this book are just fun to read. That's just kind of how I would sum this book in general. It's nothing amazing, but it's just fun. It's, you know, a short, fun read. So as far as a rating out of 10 that I would give The Light Fantastic, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. You know, it's good. It's nothing amazing, but it's good, and I enjoyed it. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. So let me know in the comments if you have read The Light Fantastic or other Discworld books and what you thought of it. What other Discworld books have you read, if you've read any? What other ones did you really like? How does this rank among them? Do you think this is also one of the weaker ones, or is this maybe one of your favorites? And how do you think of it in comparison to The Color of Magic as well? I haven't heard really a lot of people say one way or the other whether they prefer this or The Color of Magic. Just generally that the first 2 or 3 books are the weakest ones in the Discworld series. So I'm curious to see if you happen to think that this is also your least favorite or maybe not. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.